Hello everyone and welcome back to CSCI 210. To get us started, I'll tell you a little story from my working career. I used to work as an engineer, and engineers would put either tiles or rocks or something painted with this on them on their desks. It says, how do you keep an engineer amused? Turn over for answer. Well, if you look over on the other side, it says, how do you keep an engineer amused? Turn over for answer. Well, the joke, of course, is that they will be continued to turn over and over and over and over and never end. Now, in programming, this is called an endless loop, and this is one of the things we will be talking about today, because we will be talking about looping, also known as iterations. So, looping is an iteration control structure. That's what it's strictly speaking known as. That sounds really impressive, but it's all it is something that makes the computer do a list of instructions over and over again until something happens. Now, there's three types depending on when it stops. The first type is when you do it a certain number of times. The second time is till some condition is met, and the third time is called a do forever. Now, I'll explain each one of those. Okay, you have the type where you do it a certain amount of times, and a non-computer example is adding eggs to a cake mix. If you were to add 3 eggs to a cake mix, you would crack open each of them individually one at a time, and then you'd add it to the mix. Otherwise, you might get eggshells in your cake, which probably wouldn't taste too good. Now, over here, I have the M block that's the equivalent of that. The reason I did that is when you learn a computer language, it's almost like learning a regular language, is that when you really start making progress in it, you start thinking in terms of that language. When people want you to do something, you start thinking in terms of you can actually visualize the program it is written. Okay, the next type of iteration is until a condition is met. Example of that is walking to school. Walking to school, you put one foot in front of the other, repeat as necessary till you get to school. Washing dishes, you take them one at a time, you wash them and you dry them and you put them away. You continue doing until finished. And then in the M block, that's a repeat until, and you put your condition in here. Okay, the final one is called a forever loop, and it's what you saw with the turnover for answer. And there's also dad jokes, especially have these in there. I remember when I was a young lad, Dad and I were sitting in his Fairlane 500, and we were going down the road, and he looked at me and said, Pete and repeat, we're at home. Pete left, what did that leave? I said, repeat. He said, Pete and repeat are at home. Pete left, who's did that leave? Now, if about third or fourth time I caught on to the fact that he had a forever loop going on here and that I just needed to quit. So, that's another example of a forever loop. MBlock has a forever loop, and you would think you would not want these. There are sometimes these come in handy, like if you're trying to do some sort of event loop, and we'll talk about that. We're about to do a little coding with this. So Lightning's ready, so let's go write some code.